Hey there everybody, it's time to learn about eighth notes. Eighth notes are faster notes than what we've learned about before. So an eighth note looks like this. You can have a note that looks just like a quarter note with a dot that's colored in and then a stem, but an eighth note also has a flag. Okay, so you have the dot, the stem, and the flag. You'll see eighth notes looking in a few different shapes. Okay, so this is if you have a single eighth note with the stem going up. You can also have a single eighth note with the stem going down, which looks like this. I'll have the dot up here. If the note's high up on the staff, the stem will go down, and then the flag will come up like that. So that's an eighth note. That's the exact same kind of note, just pointing in a different direction. But a lot of times when you see an eighth note, it's going to be as part of a pair of eighth notes. Whenever you have two or more eighth notes next to each other, the flags grab onto each other and they form what's called a beam. So this is what two eighth notes would look like. I have a dot and another dot. Each one has a stem. And then instead of each having a flag, there's going to be a beam connecting them. So that is what two eighth notes next to each other looks like. If the stems are going down, then it would look like this. Two dots, two stems, and instead of the flags coming up, they grab onto each other and they form a beam. So this is two eighth notes, and this is also two eighth notes. Now you might notice that the notes we've learned so far are whole, and then we have half, which is a fraction, like this. Then we had quarter notes, and now we have eighth notes. So if you haven't learned about fractions yet in math class, don't worry about it. I'll explain how it works. So the eighth note is fast, and it actually takes two eighth notes to fill in one beat. Okay, so it's only half of a beat. So here's the word eighth note. E-I-G-H-T spells eight, but we want eighth with another H at the end. Eighth note. And it lasts for half of a beat. And what that means is for every beat, we're going to have two eighth notes. 1 and 2 and bump, 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 bump. So if I were to play it on the piano, it would sound like this. Here's the beat. Here are the eighth notes. Notice how fast the beat is, and notice that the eighth notes are exactly twice as fast as the beat, because I have two notes for every beat. Excellent. Now we also have eighth rests. Eighth rests kind of look like, here we go. Eighth rests kind of look like the number 7. So imagine a 7, but instead of just a regular 7, I'm going to put a little dot, and I'm going to go up and then down like that. This is an eighth rest. Just like that. So an eighth rest is half of a beat of silence. So it would work like this. Let's say I had an eighth note followed by an eighth rest. It would look like this. A note, and then a rest, and then another note, and then another rest. Something like that. So note, rest, note, rest. try to get the glare off the screen for you guys. So it's going to sound like this. Now, remember, if I have 2 eighth notes, it takes 2 eighth notes to make one beat. So if I have an eighth note and an eighth rest, which each of them are only half a beat long, it still would be one beat. So 2 eighth notes would be a beat, but also an eighth note and an eighth rest would be a beat. Now we might remember that a quarter note is the kind of note that lasts for one beat, but it sounds a little bit different when you write it with eighth notes. For example, if I were to do a bunch of quarter notes, which don't have the flag, just the stem, the quarter notes would sound like this. Here's my beat. Quarter notes sound like this. The quarter note fills all that space right up until the next quarter note. But the eighth note with the eighth rest is going to be faster, or is not, the beat's going to be the same, but there's going to be a little bit of space between the notes like this. Here's my beat. Hear all that empty space in between? Quarter notes again. Eighth notes with eighth rest. There you have it. Eighth notes, eighth rests. Till next time, this is Mr. McGraw. Peace.